Libraries are meant to be welcoming spaces. Anyone is welcome to come in, read a book, look up information, or just hang out for a little while. Some libraries are having issues with security, though. The use of illegal drugs is up at the downtown Sarnia branch at the Lambton County Library. That has administration contemplating asking for more funding to double security. So what's the situation like here in Windsor Libraries? Renaldo Agostino is a city councillor who also sits on the board for the Windsor Public Library, and he joins us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. What are some of the security issues staff face at the Windsor Libraries?
Well, it's the same thing, right? Libraries are just low barrier places where we want to welcome people. We want people to come in and use the resources that exist. But you're seeing with everything that's happening in society these days, people are coming in and sometimes using things that they shouldn't be using. We've found a few different workarounds at our downtown branch. Moving computers to H4 was a big one because there was a lot of people who would come in to use computers to try and find work, and putting those in H4 have really helped in some ways, but adding additional security, and really you're just trying to keep your head above water until somebody with a lot more money and a lot more resources figures out what we're going to do with this, because it's continues to get worse and worse and worse.
Can you expand on that? How has it changed over the years?
Well, I don't think 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I don't think people were doing crystal meth and fentanyl. It was like smoking marijuana was the issue, or kids going in the bathroom smoking cigarettes, I could imagine. Now you're seeing with this epidemic that's out there, you're seeing things getting a lot worse. For people that have addiction and trauma issues, and you see it everywhere. It's just one of those things that society is going through, and we got to figure it out.
Are there certain branches that have issues to deal with more than some of the other branches in the city?
I'm sure there's no question about it. I'm sure the central branch has the most challenges, but it also, has the best people working there. So it's a combination of, you try and do what you can do to really mitigate the issues that are happening. And for our branch downtown, I hear it all the time. We're getting a little bit more staff. We're getting a little bit more security. I think closing an hour earlier, we'll see how that helps out in January, because usually those problems tend to happen later on in the evening. But this is something that is moving so fast, and it's just every day it seems like there's new challenges, and it's not a library thing, right? Like Tim Hortons is going through it. McDonald's is going through it. Any low barrier place is going through it, and they're trying to figure out what to do to be able to help people, but also help themselves and keep their businesses open.
I'm also thinking about the librarians themselves. They're not necessarily trained to deal with this. How are they being affected? Well,
they're not trained, right? They're not trained to deal with this, and they're learning on the job because they're good-hearted people. Right? It's you don't want to turn away from somebody who's in distress. You don't want to turn away from somebody that needs help. So you're almost learning on the fly, but that's what the security there's for. And I know there's been a lot of conversations between the staff and management, and what to do in certain situations. And it's just, I see it. I'm at City Hall every day, and I see it happening across the street at Tim Hortons there. You see people continuously trying to make moves to mitigate the issues that are happening in our society. It's the bigger picture. But again, these low barrier places are the ones that tend to see the most traffic and see the issues, and the drugs is the big problem.
Has there ever been talk about getting training for librarians or bringing people in who are trained to deal with this set of population?
Well, I think what you want to do, what happens there is then you start questioning, why do I have an H4? Right? Like if we have places that are put in place to support those who are in need, a library is supposed to be a library, and it's welcoming to everybody, but I don't think we're at the point in society. I'm certainly not at the point in society where I feel that going inside a library and using narcotics, especially illegal ones, is something that I certainly want to see. It's not what I want to see. Mm-hmm. So I don't agree with that. I don't think we should be having, I think there's places for that, and libraries isn't one of them.
How much does the library currently spend on security?
At last check, I know it was a significant amount. I think that there was, it did get bumped up in the last negotiations, but I don't have the number off the top of my head.
Any plans to increase that?
If necessary.
Yeah.
If necessary.
What else needs to be done?
Well, I think what needs to be done is, we've got to make some decisions as a society to see what direction we want to go in and what we're going to do to help the people that need the help the most, and what we're going to do to help the places where we expect to be not surrounded by people using narcotics. And it's not just a heavy-handed approach. There's no silver bullet here. It's going to take many, many different things. And really what it comes down to is getting help to people that need help, and getting them off our streets and out of our libraries and out of our Tim Hortons and McDonald's, and say, listen, you got to get some help, right? This is not the way you want to live. I certainly can't have you living around these places the way you are, including our streets, our corners. Like it's something that needs to be addressed. And hopefully, as time goes on, someone's going to figure out what to do here, because nobody has, right? There's not a city that said, we nailed it, we're good, everything's fine, here's the template, just follow what we did. I think in a lot of ways, Windsor is taking the lead on some things, which, is shocking, but I keep hearing it. I was just in Seattle for the Downtown Association. People knew that there was a nurse police team here. People knew that there was money being invested in the downtown core. So it's one of those things where you're going to have to keep failing. You're going to have to keep failing until you succeed, right?
And I was thinking that Windsor seems to be at the forefront with trying to come up with solutions. Are they working? Are we seeing changes? It sounds like things are getting worse.
I disagree with that. I think what we're doing in our downtown core, I can't see how anybody would think that things are getting worse. We continue to invest in our downtown. We continue to see new businesses open. We continue to see a ton of interest in regards to creating more housing downtown, which is necessary. There's no question about it. We have our challenges just like everybody else does. You just got to look over at Glengarry and see what's happening there. But we're not giving up, right? We're not giving up. And until the solution is found, there's two things you can do. You either surrender and wait till somebody figures it out and then start again, or you keep your head above water as much as you can. You keep fighting so that when this does get figured out, you're 50 meters ahead of the start line. And I think that's the way downtown Windsor, that's the way we want to go. We don't want to sit there and wait for somebody else to say, okay, problem solved, now you can do this, or now you can reinvest, or now you can go back downtown. No way. We're gonna keep fighting the way we're fighting. And believe me, we're going to lose some, but we're also going to win some.
Renaldo, thank you so much for coming in this morning.